Hi, and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer and move to Arsenal. Sponsored today by the guys from U to B who make these excellent T-shirts. One, of course, what I'm wearing today. Let me just show you today's one that I'm wearing. Loving this one. When visiting, it says, when visiting the away grounds, 91.93. Classic. Absolutely love their designs. Their website is in the description if you want to get hold of any of these T-shirts. As I said, some great designs by U to B. The link is in this description, and the show is sponsored by them today. Kicking off the show today with a bit of bad news, really, and I'm sure all Arsenal fans would have heard the news that came out yesterday that 55 members of staff are going to be made redundant. Picture there of the hierarchy at Arsenal. Vinay Raul there, also Stan Kroenke's son there, Josh. They've come to this decision where 55 non-playing staff members are going to be made redundant. And this is because of the coronavirus, of course, the pandemic. We, of course, know that there's been no football. When I say no football, there's been no fans at the ground, and this has had a detrimental effect on the finances of not just Arsenal, but all football clubs right throughout the football pyramid. And the decision has been taken to make these 55 redundancies, which includes the head of international scouts, Francis Cagigio, and he's a guy who helped bring in people like Fabregas, Bellerin, Martinelli. He's been made redundant as well. And it's they issued a statement yesterday, Arsenal, about this. And it was a very long, detailed statement. But part of the statement said, our aim has been to protect the jobs and base salaries of our people for as long as we possibly can. Unfortunately, we have now come to the point where we're proposing 55 redundancies. We don't make these proposals lightly, and we have looked at every aspect of the club and our expenditure before reaching this point. We are now entering a required 30-day consultation period on these proposals. We know this is upsetting and difficult for our dedicated staff, and our focus is on managing this as sensitively as possible. And of course, you know, it puts a lot of perspective on things, particularly when I'm sitting here talking about transfers, talking about, should we buy this player for X amount of millions? Should we give Willian 120 grand a week? Özil 350 grand a week? 55, people are going to lose their jobs at Arsenal. And it's a really, really sad moment. And the Arsenal board have come under a lot of criticism about this. A lot of people are very angry about this. I mean, just on the back of winning the FA Cup, which will be bringing in a lot of income, the fact that now there's going to be European football, there's been a bit of a feel-good factor around the place. And as I said, we've been discussing transfers. The main one, Willian, who could be happening, said that he wants £120,000 a week. Remember, the players took a 12.5% pay cut in order to help out, the non-playing staff. And if you was to, a lot of the rumours coming out of Arsenal that the players are very angry about this. This was the reason why they took the pay cut in the first place, was to stop this sort of thing from happening, and they're still laying off people. Now, it's a really, I don't know what you guys think. It's a really tricky one because obviously it's a business as well. I was on a show with Curtis last night and I was talking about it, and I was saying that, what do? As Arsenal sort of have pointed out, there's going to be no football returning, football will be returning, but there'll be no fans returning to the stadium when the season restarts. It's, I can't see any fans back in the stadium before Christmas. And even when fans do return, it will be a limited amount. So there are non-playing staff like stewards, like people who might be in the corporate section. They are literally not going to be needed. There's literally no job for them at the moment. I understand that. But what's the saving of making these 55 members of staff going to be? 2 million, 2.5 million. The owner of the club is a multi-billionaire. Could he not have just held on to them for, I don't know, for the season until things get better? And as I said, the players did take this pay cut of 12.5%. I don't know. It's you know, I noticed that the AST in discussing this one said they've asked for further information regarding this, and I think that's a sensible thing to do. I don't want to jump to too many conclusions. I want to find out more details on this, but it does seem very harsh, you know, and I would have hoped that, as I said, with a billionaire owner, that we could have held on to some of these members of staff much longer. It's very, very sad. And as I said, you know, I'm here talking about transfers, get this player, 50 million on that. Let's go and get that. I mean, what does that tell you about the finances that are available to the club to buy players? I mean, after making these 55 people redundant, how do they then go out there, say, for instance, and splash out £45 million on Thomas Partey's release clause, if that is a plan? Surely that makes that look much more difficult to do, because there'll be a backlash on it, because there's already been a backlash on what has happened yesterday with these redundancies. But would love to get your opinions on it. And you know, I feel really sad for all of those people who's lost their jobs, but want to get your opinion on it. Is it business? And is it the sensible thing to do? Or do you think they could have held on to these members of staff for much longer? I see a lot of people out there blaming Ozil. You can't blame Ozil for this. He didn't ask to get paid 350 grand a week. The club negotiated that with him. They're not playing him at the moment. It's not his fault. It's not any player's fault. As a matter of fact, the other players took a pay cut so that this couldn't happen, as I said, and it has happened. So really, really sad. Now, getting on to transfers, I spoke yesterday about Gabriel from Lille, the 22-year-old Brazilian centre-back who's also a left-footed centre-back, which is quite significant. We know that we're looking for that type of player. Now, as I said on the show yesterday, he's been chased by a lot of clubs throughout Europe. Napoli was said to be right at the front of the queue to sign him, but that's gone cold. Everton were really, really interested in him. That's gone cold. And then the favourites are said to be Manchester United. It seemed to be that would be the place where he'd be heading. I was talking about it yesterday and saying it's going to be very hard to compete with Manchester United. They've got Champions League football. However, the noises coming out of France are that Gabriel has decided on where he wants to go to, and he wants to join Arsenal. He's chosen Arsenal over Manchester United. Remember, I said yesterday that, you know, although obviously Manchester United at this moment in time is a more attractive proposition because of Champions League football, the fact that if he comes to Arsenal, he's probably looking at it and saying, I'll get more game time. There's a big Brazilian connection, of course, now at Arsenal. I saw somebody yesterday on their Instagram. They put his picture out, the Brazilian core, and it was really funny with Edu and Willian and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But if this is true, I think this would be a bit of a coup for Arsenal. The deal is said to be worth around about £27 million. And I said, you know, just as I was talking about these 55 redundancies, but one of the things that the Arsenal board are pointing out is that, you know, it's not really going to affect their transfer business. They're still dedicated to strengthening the team. But it would represent a very good signing. And as I said, it would send a very good sign, the fact that he's chosen to join Arsenal instead of going to Manchester United. Of course, he'd be able to team back up with Nicola Pepe, who he used to play with at Lille. And maybe the fact that we've dealt with Lille with the Pepe deal helps smooth this one through a bit more as well. But yeah, it looks like he has chosen Arsenal. Nothing concrete or definite yet. We're going to have to wait and see how it pans out. But there's lots of rumours that it could be done and could be done fairly soon, as could be the deal for Willian. We know all about this one. Days are discussing this now. It's said to be edging closer and closer that Willian will be joining Arsenal. As I said, fee of around about £120,000 a week in wages. There'll be no transfer fee because he's available on a free transfer. but that deal does look like it's edging closer and closer to happening. Interestingly, there's been a lot of talk that if that happens, Arsenal may not go for Coutinho. It's almost a lot of people suggesting out there, a lot of news outlets suggesting that it's a choice between Willian or Coutinho. And if they bring in Willian, they probably won't get Coutinho, which would disappoint me because I still think Coutinho, for me, if it came down to a choice, I'd be going for Coutinho because I just look on it and I think we've got a load of wide players. Saka, Martinelli can play wide. Of course, Reece Nelson. What we don't have a lot of is that sort of attacking midfielder player, and Coutinho would be a brilliant signing. So there are a lot of rumours out there today that it's a choice between Willian and Coutinho, and I'd love to hear from you guys. If it is a choice, who would you rather out of those two? For me, it would be Coutinho, as I've been saying for a very long time. Although there are still some outlets that are saying that Arsenal are in for both of them and that they're sort of waiting on Barcelona to find out if that deal is going to be something that is going to be viable. I also heard a rumour yesterday again about Wilfried Zaha, another winger, another one, right? A friend of mine was telling me that he knows an agent who told him that Arsenal are looking to get Zaha on a loan deal with an option to buy. Now, again, as I said, this is just a third-hand rumour that I've heard, but that is what I heard. Now, again, another winger. Don't get me wrong. I used to be, let's get Zaha. Zaha would be brilliant for Arsenal. But we got Pepe now. We don't need Zaha. Listen, he's still a quality player. And as I said, I've liked him for a very long time. But now that we've got Pepe, there is no need for Zaha. What would happen to Saka if you bring Zaha in as well? So I just don't see that one at the moment at all. But, we report about the rumours here, and that is still a rumour that is flying around. Another rumour linking us to a midfield player today, and that is Ibrahima Diallo. Now, Ibrahima Diallo I've spoke about before during the lockdown when we was doing our sort of news daily show. The Arsenal have been looking at him. They sent scouts to watch him. Of course, we all know that Liga this season finished early. There's a lot of players playing in that league who were very dissatisfied with the way in which their season ended. They looked around Europe. They saw the Premier League continue through to its conclusion, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga. And a lot of them will be looking at that league and saying, it's just not nowhere near any of those top leagues around Europe. And will be interested in making a move. Diallo is still being linked with Arsenal. Now, it's said that he's an alternative if Arsenal are unable to sign Thomas Partey, which, as I said, who knows? That could be limited now with the fact that, Arsenal seem to be so short of cash. Diallo, of course, would be a much cheaper option. He plays for Brest over there in France, 21, said to be very similar in his style of play to N'Golo Kante, a deep-lying sort of defensive midfielder, stroke box-to-box midfielder, and Arsenal said to be looking at him, and he is an option if they are unable to get their main objective, which is Thomas Partey. And Aubameyang, still no news on what's happening with that. Would love for that to happen. I think that's a very important deal to get done this summer, as we all know, but still no news on it. There are reports out today that Aubameyang is waiting to see what happens at Arsenal, what deals are going to be done, who are they going to bring in before he decides whether to sign or not. There's also other reports today that he's waiting on offers, for any possible offers from some of the big boys, like, say, for instance, a Barcelona, before he decides what he's going to do. Certainly, he hasn't signed yet, as we know, but the noises coming out of Arsenal are that they are confident that he will sign a new contract. But of course, as I always say, going to have to wait and see how that one pans out and if it happens. But certainly, as I said right at the start of the show, really sad news about those 55 people who are being made redundant. What do you think about it? Do you feel a bit bad now? If, let's just say, a deal for Thomas Partey goes through, we pay like us 40 million for him. Do you think that morally that's wrong? That Arsenal are going in and, you know, getting a Partey or getting this Gabriel for 27 million or paying the big wages of Willian when they're having to lay all these members of staff off? Or do you look at it and say to yourself, well, listen, there's no football on at the moment. How can you employ stewards? How can you employ people who work in the corporate section? How can you employ certain scouts that go out to watch football being played all around the country and Europe when there's no football being played? It makes sense. When things pick up, you can start employing again. Do you look on it that way? I'd be really interested to get your thoughts. Should the owner be putting his hand into his pocket and just saying, right, I'll look after these members of staff because of their loyalty until this whole pandemic thing dies down? What do you reckon? Would really, really love to get your opinion on it. Thanks for watching the show today. We will be back tomorrow. Also, look out for the podcast that's coming out on Friday. We're going to be doing a full review of the season. You don't want to miss that. And we'll be back tomorrow with another Transfer Daily. Robbie here from AFTV. We just got to say a big thank you to everybody who follows us across our various channels. Over 1 million followers on YouTube. Don't forget, you can now also catch us on Reddit. We're on Reddit, so get involved with us on Reddit and also on TikTok. Keep it AFTV, baby, right here.